Hello, everyone. This is Charlie Martinez, aka Oman Charles underscore X34, and today I'm here with.
Hi, I'm Aurora Schaefer, fellow autistic.
And today we're going to talk about how the social media benefits people on the spectrum and how it makes a standing ovation as an online community for autistics.
Well, this topic, first of all, really intrigued me. I think that social media and online platforms have done a lot in connecting the autistic community. But before you even get into that, I think first off, you have to really think about what drew and what attracts autistic people to the internet and these social media platforms. And I think it has a lot to do with the inherent accessibility associated with a lot of them. From the base of it, you are eliminating, first off, a lot of the processing speed that inhibits us from connecting normal conversations. Like when I'm having a conversation with somebody, it's very stressful. And sometimes I'm not focused on what I'm saying, more as how can I quickly respond to somebody and things like that. Where versus when I'm online, I can read something over and over and take the time I need to respond to something. And that takes a lot of the pressure off of the conversation. Some other accessibility stuff that's really helpful with social media is the direct language that is used. Because you're communicating by typing and on a digital platform, you can't use facial expressions or social cues. So I don't have to spend a lot of time reading those. And typically, when somebody wants to use figurative language or something like that, they have to make it really obvious to make sure nobody can misunderstand it, which is also really helpful. So I think a lot of the reason that autistics connect and the benefit of social media is because it's inherently more accessible than a lot of the everyday interactions that we have.
You're exactly right on there because it is a big difference to interact with people on social media than in person, like you were saying. And I'm just going to elaborate on what you're saying there because when you think about socializing in person and on social media, you have the ability to take your time and walk first before you run, being able to interact with all these people. And when you do it in person, you feel a lot more pressure, and then you come out as weird or you kind of come out as quirky to someone. You might make some social mistakes here and there and come out as a bit weird, but it's okay because social media allows you that access to take those baby steps because you can't sprint first, you gotta walk.
Definitely. And I think just moving more into the specifics of the autistic community and social media, I think a lot of it has to do with, when you're living your life daily in person, you can't really, it's not very easy to connect with other autistic people because first of all, you can't walk up to somebody and ask if they're autistic. Like that's not something you can really do. And it can be difficult to find different communities to connect to. With like Instagram is where I primarily connect to other autistics. You can easily just, search for a hashtag and the autistic hashtag, and you can find tons of people that have similar life experiences too, and then connect to them that way. It's just such a fast and easy way to connect to other people who have, similar life experiences to you. And I think that that's really what draws a lot of us in as well.
Exactly, because when you talk about the hashtag actually autistic, it kind of like makes like a not I wouldn't like to use the word safe haven, kind of like a safe environment for people on the spectrum because it allows them an outlet for them to be able to have others they can relate to in a personal and emotional way because there could be like young youths out there trying to understand their own feelings and their own thoughts and how they're able to interact with people and make these connections.
And not only is it typically a safe environment, it's the first, I mean, this may just be my opinion, but in my opinion, it's one of the first environments that we're actually given and that we're able to create for ourselves as well. A lot of the times when you're trying to connect with other autistic people in real life, the ways that you're doing it are through support groups or things and that are arranged for us by typically neurotypicals, but sometimes it's not. A lot of the times when you're connecting with other autistics in real life, it's things arranged for us, and it's nice to have a platform and within that platform have a place that we're arranging for ourselves and connecting with each other as well.
That's actually pretty, that's a good point because I have a friend of mine named Jess. I don't know if you know of her. She goes by the name of holistic.autistic on Instagram.
I think so, yeah.
She started her own autism support group over in South Carolina, and I think what she's doing is great. And if we could translate that, forming our own social environment, social media, I think there's a strong possibility we could do that in real life. But it's like what you said. You can't just go up to someone and ask if they're on the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that oh, I lose my train of thought. I think that also as yeah, that definitely the point of autism being invisible sometimes makes it difficult to connect. And when you're able to just directly say it and on Instagram and stuff, it's easier to find each other. And I think also having access, I think the biggest benefit of the online community is just being able to share um, just kind of what we deal with in our everyday lives and what different parts of ourselves are, because we're all autistic, but we experience a lot of things that we don't always connect to being autistic in a lot of ways. And I think the biggest benefit of for me of finding autistic community is just really the minute little things that you don't realize are because you're autistic, and finding camaraderie in those things. And sorry, I just kind of went off there. But yeah, I think for me, like just being able to talk about little minute things you didn't realize were because you're autistic, like the way you process things and things that you wouldn't find otherwise, because a lot of the mainstream social media doesn't focus on autistic lived experiences. It's very much surface level of getting diagnosed and viewed from a neurotypical lens versus being able to communicate with each other from a neurodivergent lens is very interesting and really helps with understanding within ourselves.
Exactly, because when you get the neurotypical view and the autistic view, like if you look at autism in the neurotypical way, you kind of see it as in a way as a campaign, because when you look at commercials and stuff like that, you see it from the lens of a parent or the neurotypical, as if growing up on the spectrum will impact their life. And on the lens of autistics, you got to keep in mind that their child could build a life of their own if they wanted to. They just need the extra steps and support.
Yeah, I think at the core of people wonder a lot of times what the value of the autistic community is and how it's different from everything that we already have. And I think that at the core it's because it's the only thing we have, because it's controlled by us and we inform each other. And I think a lot of people forget that the only experts on autism are autistic people. No one ever is going to be as much of an expert on autism as we are. And I think being able to communicate our knowledge is progressing the understanding of autism on a much further, it's progressing it much faster than a lot of the other people who claim to be researching for us, or a lot of other people, because we're able to communicate with each other. And I think we're advancing understanding a lot more within the autism community because it's coming from our perspective as opposed to somebody who isn't from our perspective.
Exactly, because when you look at all these perspectives, even besides the autism community and all these communities together, it's like a open book, and all people need to do is just read the book. And in a way, we're trying to, the autism community as a whole is not just a gated one where it's only autistics, but it's for everyone. Being able to learn about one another. Even today, I'm still trying to learn about other cases of autism, because I know that there's a lot of people on the spectrum that might differ from me, but I just want to learn as much as I can from each other and ourselves.
Yeah, I really like what you said about learning from people who are different from you. I think that while, we all like to talk about how we're all autistic and that's a big community aspect, but it's a very diverse community. And I think that's also something I really enjoy about connecting with the autistic community is how diverse it is and how I can learn from a lot of different experiences. Like right now, I'm a college student and I don't work, I'm just a full-time student. So it's very helpful to be able to see and connect with a lot of working people on the autism spectrum who are my age or older than me and learn a lot about their experiences. And it's very educating to know a lot of times what's worked for them when getting jobs, what doesn't work. And you can learn a lot from that. So being able to connect with people who are in different stages of life from you, or just understanding people who have completely different lives, their perspective is also really helpful.
Exactly. And there's also other organizations that are quite helpful with providing jobs with people with disabilities, like this program called Easter Lucille's, if you guys have one over there where you guys are
I
at.
don't think I've heard of it. What is it?
it's kind of like an organization that my aunt's in that helps people with disabilities like Down syndrome, autism, a bunch of disabilities to help them find jobs and maintain a routine, pretty
Mhm.
much.
Yeah. Um, Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think just in general, the biggest thing for me of the autistic community and the benefit is the transition of power and control. A lot of times, like we talked about earlier, um, the what autism is itself in the media is typically controlled by people who are autistic, and this very new idea of having a separate safe place on social media that we control the image of and we're able to communicate our ideas is such a happy thing and it's such a wonderful thing. And I think that it's just amazing that we have this now and it's sad that we didn't before.
Yeah, because like when you think about it, if we met all the cool people we meet online in person, then we would have tons of friends. If you put
Yeah.
it like that.
Yeah. And it just gives you such a wide range of people from all over the world that you can find. I mean, I connect with people from different countries. It's such a neat and cool experience. And to just immediately have, I don't know, friends that understand you in that aspect that you might not or have a much more difficult time finding in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, it's like just because there's online friends that differ from real friends, like they're both kind of the same thing, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Except except they might live 1,000 miles or stay away from you.
Yeah, like you. I mean, we communicate, occasionally on different posts and things that we share casually. And now we're able to do this, even though we're in completely different time zones.
Yeah, pretty much. I guess this is like my introduction. I guess this is me.
Yeah. And I think also just back to like the educational basis of the autistic community, even, people forget that autistic people are just like everyone else. We don't know everything, especially even in about autism itself. And I think that even, I came in a lot very, I think I came in after I got my diagnosis. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 16. So I came in with a lot of internalized ableism. And I think almost ignorant in a lot of things that I didn't quite understand. And after connecting with the autistic community on Instagram, I learned so much more. And I think people forget that a lot of autistic people come in with the same perceptions of neurotypicals because they've been pushed on them. And having access to the autistic community really helps us learn more. Not just neurotypicals learn, but autistics learn themselves about autism and about each other and themselves.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, and it's just taking those steps to internal acceptance because before we could have that social interaction and have that self-esteem, we got to learn to accept ourselves and our autism in a way. Because if we keep having this internal ableism inside us, then we wouldn't be able to have the confidence built to be able to interact with people if we don't know our own worth. Because throughout all the years, throughout my youth, during middle school and high school, I pretty much pretended I didn't have autism. I tried to hide it pretty well, didn't want to be associated with it. Wasted a lot of my youth mostly on hiding who I was, and it's a regrettable decision that I always regret. And after a while, I don't really care anymore.
That's awesome. I'm very similar. I didn't get my diagnosis until later, but like all autistics, I knew I was different. I knew something was different. And I definitely tried to hide it. Very similar experience. What else? I feel like I've covered all of the thoughts I had offhand about the autistic community online. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I was just gonna say that it was a really great honor having you here as a guest, and it was nice talking to you about this subject.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, everyone, if you guys want to catch more of Aura, then I'll share her Instagram and her organization link down on the bottom. If you guys want to check out her organization, that really benefits research and information about the autism community. Have a nice day, everyone, or night, wherever you are in the world. Ciao.
Bye.